All right, on today's episode, we're going to talk about the importance of brotherhood. All right. All right, so I got an opening question. Who are the men in your life who make you better, not just by what they say, but how they live, right? Brotherhood is more than having friends. It is having a circle of men who challenge you, support you, hold you accountable, and remind you that you don't have to face life's challenges alone. All right, so I'm going to give you 8 bullet points, and we're going to go through them on each. All right, so first one, why brotherhood matters, right? So it matters because every man needs people he can trust and talk to and vent to, right? So you need to have a brotherhood that provides support, that provides support through life's highs and lows, where you can come to when you need your time of need or even when you need to celebrate, right? You also need strong friendships to improve your mental health, your confidence, and your resilience, in the sense of like, sometimes you're going through life and your friendships can, help you relax, help you just de-stress from whatever you're going through. They make you feel a certain way than they would if you were alone, right? And also you're having a community that helps men stay grounded during difficult times. So you have a brotherhood, you have friends, you have a group of your best friends, and they all help you in all ways and shapes and forms, in the sense of like they all have their own ideas, their own ways, and they can help you analyze and they can help you articulate whatever you're thinking or whatever you're going through into something that you can see and you can, have substance to, right? And here's a key point that you guys should know. A man surrounded by the right people is often stronger than a man trying to carry everything alone, right? So it's like they say, you are who you hang around with. So if you hang around with the right people, the positive people, the influential people, then you will have a better and successful life, right? All right, number 2, the reality of male loneliness. So in this one, I'm going to talk about how many men have friends, but very few close and honest relationships. In the sense of, yes, you can have, a lot of friends, but do you confide in them? Do you talk to them? Do you vent to them? Do you tell them your deepest and darkest secrets without, having to worry like, oh, are they going to use that against me? Are they going to do this, right? No. Do you even have pride and fear of vulnerability? Sometimes it prevents a deeper connection, right? Because sometimes when you have a lot of friends, so to say, but do you talk to them? What do you say to them, right? Or you just have them just to have them as a social status, right? So sometimes I like to ask this question to some of my friends, and it is, why do you think so many men struggle to build deep friendships? For me, it's because I've been wronged in my past. I've told my secrets to some friends. They used it against me. I told some, I've had a past relationship, and sometimes a friend would, use that use what I would do. Or sometimes I would tell him like, hey, you know what? My girl's not doing this, not doing that. What's up? Can you help me? Or even just to vent, right? And then come to find out, boom, something happens, they start talking. She cheats on me with him, So sometimes my past has, robbed me of my future friendships. But at the end of the day, that's where you got to have that confidence and comfortability of like, okay, you know what? I'm going to see who my real friends are and who my real friends aren't, right? So bullet point number 3, a brotherhood creates accountability, meaning if you have good friends, they don't just encourage you, they challenge you. You have that comfortability and that understanding that, hey, you know what? I'm doing this to help you. I'm not doing this to, help myself. I'm doing this to benefit you so that that way you're not stuck in that situation, right? And also, being accountable helps, men stay disciplined and focused. Sometimes we do stray from the path because sometimes we might be in a relationship and, that relationship is not going well. And then we might do things that don't align with what we're going, what we're headed, right? And, you need that friend to snap you out of it. You need to be like, hey, bro, don't let her, you know, stray you from the path. You know where we're going. We're going to be millionaires. We're going to be CEOs. We're going to be something bigger and better in life. Don't let that situation, don't let work, don't let gossip, don't let social media influence you in a negative way, right? All right. And the next one is the one I really hold, you know, a high standard to. And real brotherhood celebrates your wins and confronts you when you're headed in the wrong direction, right? Because when you're headed in the wrong direction, they tell you, hey, bro, you're not doing good. We're like, what's up? What can I do for you? What can I help you? Like, let me know. And I got you. But if you don't want to do it and you're taking your pride and, whatever it is that you're thinking or going through, it's like, no, I'm here to help you. I'm not here to hurt you. Right. And here's a key point that I like to say. The right brotherhood doesn't just make you feel good, it helps you become better. All right. All right. Number 4, brotherhood and mental health, right? You got to have those honest conversations basically to reduce the burden of carrying your struggles alone. Yes, I understand that you don't want to talk to anybody or you don't want to say anything for the fear of it being used against you, right? But that's where you got to have those talking points so that you can trust your friends. You got to figure out and find out what you're willing to sacrifice or what you're willing to say to your friends to see if those are your right friends. Those are your true friends, right? You don't have to tell them everything, but you can tell them something that you're comfortable with. And if they decide to stab you in the back, it's okay because it's something that you are okay with, right? And, if you have a strong supportive system that can make it easier to seek additional help when needed, then hey, just like how some women say, oh, you got to create a safe space for me. Hey, so do men. As a man, you got to create a safe space for me so I can tell you so that you can help me. Because if I go through this alone, then you know what's going to happen. Right. And, something to always ask is, just like with anything, who can you call when life gets heavy or who can you call when, you need a ride at 2 a.m? Those are your true friends. That's a true brotherhood right there because, if you can do that, if you can find a friend like that or even a group of friends, then hey, that's the best friendship you're going to have. Number 5, iron sharpens iron, right? We've all heard that phrase. So what that means is basically growth happens when you're surrounded by men who challenge your thinking, not just challenge who you are, right? Meaning you build a healthy friendship, you inspire better habits and become stronger as a character and greater with purpose, right? So if you choose the friends who support your values and not just your comfort, meaning if you choose friends that are going to help you elevate to the highest level, then why not? If you choose friends that are not going to help you elevate, then why are you going to have those friends? If you're going to choose friends that are just going to be stagnant in life, that just go through the motions, and why do you want those types of friends, right? Yeah, they might, have the status. Yeah, they might have the looks. Yeah, they might have the money, but at the end of the day, they're not challenging you to become the best version of yourself. All right, number 6, brotherhood strengthens families. This is a very big one, and I feel like we've lost touch with this one, right? So men with healthy friendships often become better husbands, fathers, sons, and even future leaders, right? Having a good support outside the home can reduce stress and improve relationships. Meaning, if you're going through something with, your family or even your partner, if you have that strong brotherhood bond, you're able to talk to them, vent to them, get ideas because they're coming from a good place. It's going to be something positive. They're not just going to tell you just to tell you. They're not just going to be like, who cares? just do this and it doesn't benefit you, it actually hurts you, right? And also, strong men create stronger families because you're building that bond. You guys, built the foundation from the ground up so that way when you have your kids and you have your family, you're all able to, talk to each other. You're able to have, parties together. You're able to mingle with each other. You're able to set those future boundaries, you're able to set what a good and reliable man it is for your sons. And then for your daughters, you're able to let them know, hey, this is what a real man is. This is what a valuable man is, right? Number 7, building a brotherhood, which is always the hardest part. You got to basically be intentional about staying connected with yourself, right? Making time for meaningful conversations. Don't just make conversations about, oh, that girl is pretty, or oh, let's go for the weekend so that we can, just get drunk and, numb our emotions, right? You got to be honest about your struggles as well. You can't just be like, oh, let's just go numb our emotions with drugs, alcohol, sex, right? No, you gotta really dig deep and be like, hey, what are you going through, man? Like, let's figure this out together. And if we come to the answer that you feel you're comfortable with, then hey, let's go out and just have fun, not numb our emotions. There's a big difference between numbing your emotions and having fun, right? You also got to celebrate each other's success as well, because if I'm celebrating you when you're doing good, then you're going to celebrate me when I'm doing good. And if that doesn't happen, then that's how you know who your true friends are. That's how you know you can build something with that person. If that person feels, envious of you, or sometimes they just feel like, oh, I wish I was him. Then no, you don't want those types of men around you, friends around you, because then they're just going to bring you down. And last but not least, you got to show up consistently, not just when it is convenient, right? You got to show up when it's hard, when it's not going good for your friends. Why? Because once you do that, it's going to create something very strong in the friendship and in the future as well, because you're able to rely on that person, right? And here's a key point on this one. If you want loyal friends, be a loyal friend. Simple as that, You are who you are, right? If you're a loyal person, you will find your loyal friends. Yes, it might take a while, but hey, at least you are staying true to who you are and your values. You're not going outside of that, right? And last but not least, number 8, we always talk about this, leaving a legacy together, not just individual, but together as a brotherhood. Meaning, brotherhood is about helping one another become better men, right? The men you surround yourself with will influence your mind, habits, and your future generations. Not only just, for the time being, but you're building that blueprint of how a good friendship and a brotherhood should be and should look like, right? So if you build strong relationships with your friends, it creates stronger communities tomorrow. Right? So if you're building your friends up today, then tomorrow you're going to see the fruits of your labor. And then the future will be looking back and you'll be like, man, even though we went through some shit, hey, man, I'm glad I went through it with you, because at the end of the day, I wouldn't have done it without you, right? Because you helped me in ways that no one else could have helped me in. So with that being said, I have this closing message for you guys, all right? Be ready. Turn up the volume. All right. So brotherhood isn't about having people around you when life is easy. It's about having men beside you when life gets hard. Every man needs people who will tell him the truth, challenge him to grow, celebrate his victories, and remind him that he doesn't have to carry every burden alone. Strong men don't just build successful lives, they build strong relationships that make everyone around them better. Right? All right. Make sure to stay tuned. Make sure to stay tuned for the Q&A.
Well, now into the Q&A. So the first question will be, what does true brotherhood mean to you?
So true brotherhood to me means basically that if you're honest with me, if you're transparent, and if you're just, just those two, honestly, for me, if you're honest, transparent, because without those, you know, there's no, what's the word I'm looking for? Without those, you can't build nothing out of it, right? So if I can't be honest with you and you can't be honest with me, then everything else is gonna, fall off. If you can't be transparent with me when I ask you something or when I want, your advice on something, then why even have you in my circle? Why even be my friend, right? So that's what true brotherhood means. And when if I'm feeling, down and out, and if you make me feel like I said, we create that trust and transparency, then we take that to the next step, and I can be like, hey, you know what, bro, I'm going through some stuff. You think you can help me out? Just talk, whatever, vent, basically, so that way I can, you can provide a different insight. So when I'm going through whatever it is, I can vent to you and then be like, all right, let's go eat, let's go play video games, let's go watch a movie, let's go do something so that you're not stuck in that, mindset or stuck in that situation or whatever. Let's just do something to distract you from what you can't, get your head out of, right? Did that make sense? Did that answer your question?
Yep, it did. Now moving into the second question is, how has strong friendship shaped your life?
All right. So how's a strong friendship shaped my life? So it's really helped me take into consideration that some of my actions weren't, right. And some of them were right, but I just needed to take it a little bit further, if that makes sense. And I'll go a little bit deeper. So I can give you an example of, you know, basically with a relationship, right? How I can go about a relationship. If I wanted to go about it in a certain way, they were able to provide me on a different insight because they already did that, they already entertained that option, right? So when I would say about it, they would just be like, oh no, man, that's not the right way to go about, a friendship or a relationship, because all that's going to do is just lead you down the wrong path. All that's going to do is going to create drama. That's going to create, unwanted attention. So for me, that's what helped me, instead of being, sometimes petty in a relationship or in a friendship. They're just like, hey, bro, don't even entertain that. I know you want to, but don't even do it. For what? What are you going to gain from it, right? Yeah, you gain the satisfaction of making them feel bad or, whatever. But at the end of the day, it's like, what are you going to benefit from doing that situation or doing that thing, right? And, that's what strong friendship has, helped me. They were able to be honest with me, and they were able to be transparent because they were able to say, hey, bro, I did that in my past friendship, my past relationship. You know what? It's not worth it. Just leave it alone, live your life, and, you know, you'll be good from there.
Yep. Yep, I concur with that. For the next question is one that I've put at the end, and is, what's the difference between having friends and having a brotherhood?
So having friends is basically someone that you can just, go out and have fun. Basically something, friends is, to me, is basically, having friends is people that you can't trust fully, with whatever it is you're going through with your life, right? So that's what, the difference between a friend and brotherhood. Friends, you don't trust with your life. A brotherhood, you do, because a brotherhood, like I've said before, you've built a foundation off of it. You've already gone through everything, and you're able to trust your brotherhood friends in a way where, like, hey, these group of, my brotherhood friends are able to help me out in all these aspects, in all these ways, in the sense of like, hey, man, you know, you don't ha- you already know what I'm going through, and you already know how to, maneuver, right? You know how to, basically, me and I know you. So you already know what makes me happy, what makes me sad, how can I overcome, when I'm depressed, or all that about me. So that's what's the difference between a brotherhood and friends. Friends, they don't know about you. They don't care about you. They just want, your status, your money. They want to be surrounded by you. So that's the difference between a brotherhood and friends to me. Did that answer your question?
Yep. And it's one of the points that I want to, you know, put there because in my case, I had, let's say, a brotherhood with people in the past, so many years ago. But in the end, they, let's say, they downgraded to friends because they kept talking because behind my back. So it's at one point it was a brotherhood, trusted. It's like what you mentioned is things that make you feel better. Is like understanding you instead of just like, hey, let's hang out and just have fun. But eventually, I noticed that it was a mess, and I was like, I never understood why it just happened. Maybe it was like that since forever. Maybe it was just like a change of mentality at one point for whatever reason, but it didn't work out for me. And I eventually, what I did was like, downgrade as much as I can the friendship into eventually it became an acquaintance. It's not even a friend
Yeah, where
because
you
it's like, I don't need that.
Yeah, I understand. Yeah, because it doesn't suit you in any way, Like I said, you want at least a friend. They can benefit you in some way. Like, hey, you know what? Even though we're not very, very close friends, at least you can help me in some way, shape, or form, whether it's in a career or whether it's in finances or whether and it's just knowing someone, right? So
Yeah, unfortunately, that's the first step into realizing which is a friend, which is a brother, basically.
yeah, that's the difference. A friend is a friend. A brotherhood is basically like almost family. They become family. They become part of your who you are when once you get into adulthood, because now you start hanging out with them. Now you start bringing people around them, and then sooner or later they become family, right? You grow up, you have a family, and then you're like, hey, mijo, mija, this is a family friend. This is like a tío but not your tío, an uncle but not your uncle, not by blood. Right? Yeah. Any other questions?
Nope, that's pretty much it.
All
So thank you.
All right, and that's it for our podcast. Make sure to tune in next week. Woohoo!
My man.